Habari, greetings. Habari is hello in Swahili, one of the many African languages. Hello, welcome to Kiy NY007. Hope all is well with you. We got some more circus biz going on to do. Honestly, not really picking a side. I just want to show things that meaning something to me and that means something to a lot more people too. So I want to put a voice to it. So in my thumbnail, America's amazing circus show starring Tim Walz. He is the running mate with Kamala Harris, running for vice president. The election day is November 5th this year, 2024, and there is early voting going on as well. So there's just a lot going on to go over. Walz is live. He's been live here and there all throughout Georgia, so I'm going to show that. I also want to tap into Kamala Harris's visit with Shannon Sharpe, who's the man to the left. So she came on his show Club Shay recently, I guess as a last plea to possibly get more black men in. But I do want to show some of that. I was going to do it on the last stream, but then I got a little interrupted and sidetracked, so I'm here now. All right, appreciate y'all. Those that were here or will come back, appreciate it. Just got some more new subs too, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna get my intro going. We got him on there. It's like he just be so tongue-tied too. It's like, you know what I mean? Oh my goodness.
I'm so happy for you to be here. You know what I'm saying? It means a lot to women like me. You know, a lot of us we see what you're doing. You know, you're the first black woman, you know, to achieve a lot of things.
Oh my gosh. What it only. So I want to show some of that. So just, oh my goodness. You know, I don't have anything against individuals. I just have things against lies. That's how we should all feel. So Shannon Sharpe living his best life in the closet.
You know, I'm thankful, you know, for you stepping forward, you know, speaking up for women like us. And like you,
please. So I'm just going to show a snippet of that, and then we can get right into the live. There's some highlights with Tim Walz.
Former President Trump, more on the economy. What can you tell the voters, our viewing audience, our listening audience, that if you were to become president, wow, Madam VP Kamala Harris will be much better on the economy than what President Trump was?
Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up, Shannon. So first of all, let's clear up certain myths.
Okay.
You know those checks that went out?
Yes, those skimmies.
Right. Right.
Stimulus check.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. Yes. Yes.
We got to be for stimulus, but they call them skimmies. Okay.
The reason those came about is because there was a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and Congress. Mm-hmm. People like Maxine Waters, people like Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yes.
Who did the work of pushing to say, people need help right now and we need to send out checks. There was a whole lot of opposition to it, including from Donald Trump's White House.
Yes, even him. I think he was resistant to it at first.
Yes. That's why those checks, remember, Congress holds the purse.
Yes.
So really, Congress wrote those checks. But then Donald Trump, unlike any president before or after, decided he put his name on those checks.
So therefore, people thought
Donald Trump gave me that check. And so let's clear that up first and foremost. Okay. But let's also deal with where he was in terms of his policies on the economy. He gave the biggest tax cuts for billionaires and the biggest corporations, which caused an incredible deficit. He tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which we also call Obamacare, mm-hmm. which benefited so many people, including, and in particular, Black people in America who otherwise were denied by the insurance companies health coverage because of pre-existing conditions.
Yes, that's most important. Let the people know.
Right?
With a Affordable Care Act, if you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can no longer deny you coverage.
That's exactly right. And if you think about what that means in the context of also knowing the big health disparities we have in the Black community, right, and how more likely, therefore, Black folks might be to have pre-existing conditions.
Blood pressure, diabetes,
All of
certain
that.
cancers.
All of that.
Yes.
Asthma for our children.
Yes. Sickle cell trait.
It's all of that. So by getting rid of the pre-existing condition ban, what that did, but he wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
What we have done, and part of my policies going forward include what we need to do to not only retain the cap that we got on insulin at $35 a month for seniors. By the way, Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed.
I do have to speak on this because she speaks a lot to diabetes. Whenever she says diabetes, that's supposed to be to Black people. Black people do not always have diabetes. And no, we don't have them in large masses. There are people that predetermine themselves to have health issues. I was told one day you might have this, one day you might have high cholesterol, you know, because Black people and African American, whatever you is, whatever you ain't, don't tell me what I have and what I am. So don't let people put a condition on you. And I don't like that because whenever she says diabetes, it seems like it's targeting Black people. Yes, there's certain health factors that may happen differently to different race of people, but don't put it out there like that's just diabetic, you know, just Black people, because that's not the case. In sickle cell, yes, that is a trait that is found more so in Black people, but it's still. And when Trump was president, he did make, I believe, some changes to the Affordable Care Act that was presented by Barack Obama, but he kept most of it in place, but he put his name on it. And it really was credited. The credit is really still due to former President Barack Obama. So I'll just share a little bit more and then we can get into live with Tim Walz, and then I'm just going to let it
for diabetes.
Correct.
He wants to get rid of it with that Project 2025. Everybody needs to check that out. What he would do to get rid of Social Security, or at least raise
Black.
the age to 70, so you'd have to work to 70 to be able to qualify.
Right.
Get rid of Medicare, get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And that's just on health policy, not to mention bringing back not only tax cuts for the richest people, but what he would do that is about eliminating or reducing the ability of corporations to be required to pay overtime pay.
So you could work and the corporations wouldn't have to pay you for
overtime.
Who work for free?
That's right.
All right, so I'll just be laughing because he's not even an interviewer, but he be doing good with his show. I'm not knocking him.
You know what I'm saying? Even if people question my sexuality, you know,
All right, here we go, y'all. Let me get Walz.
They're still making $30 for each one. They will do just fine. So look, for all of us in here too, and the young folks in here, I know this one's not going to register much with you. Trust me, when you turn 60 and get in there,
Thank you.
there's a couple things you really start paying attention to, Medicare being one of them. That's how we live with dignity when we get older. Kamala proposed having Medicare pay for in-home care so our seniors and our parents can live in their homes longer. Smart. Now listen, everybody, and they say, well, what are their concrete plans? You're not going to hear Donald Trump talking about this stuff because he doesn't believe in Medicare, doesn't believe in Social Security, doesn't care. But when she said, let's expand Medicare to pay for glasses and hearing aids, what a novel idea. What a novel idea. Now, Trump's plan, they had a bunch of experts look at it. Trump's plan will bankrupt Social Security in 6 years. 6 years. Now, I want to just talk about this on Social Security. When you're a billionaire and you're sitting down at Mar-a-Lago, and remember, the reason he's a billionaire because his dad gave him $400 million. Any one of you would be multiple billionaires richer than him if you had it started out. But look, he doesn't give a damn if the Social Security check gets deposited or not. You know who does care? My nearly 90-year-old mom, because she pays for food and heat with that money. And you know what? She paid into it. She paid into it. Now, Donald Trump wanted to tell us, and J.D. Vance tried to explain to me after Trump's concept of a plan. He tried to explain the plan, and I said, you should go back to the concept, because when you explain it, it's even worse. Because what he explained is getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And for all of you who've forgotten, and for folks in here, what Obamacare did was make sure insurance companies could not determine whether they covered you or not because you had a pre-existing condition. Yeah, we're not going back to that. These folks get it. Even Donald Trump could figure out this business model. Insurance companies want to only insure healthy people, and they want to make it difficult for you to make a claim and collect the money, because that way they get to keep the money. What ACA said is because you've had asthma when you were younger, or because you're a woman, or because you hurt your knee, you're not going to be excluded from this, and you're going to get health care, because guess what? Health care should be a basic human right to be able to take care of people. And the system works. And this idea of home ownership, all of us in here who've had the privilege and the ability to be able to own a home know that one of the biggest obstacles to getting in that home is the down payment that you need to get in. If you're like me, I used a VA loan where you don't have to have a down payment. What Kamala's proposing is making sure everybody gets a $25,000 credit to be able to get your down payment into your home. Works. And the folks in here who have an American dream to start your own business, we know that the richest and the biggest companies in this country don't pay any tax right now. They get a lot of tax credits and a lot of breaks. And speaking of not paying taxes, Donald hasn't paid 10 of the last 15 years in federal tax. So what we think is we have those folks pay their fair share, and then we start focusing a $50,000 tax credit on small business owners for they're able to get off the ground. Makes more sense. But not Donald. He wants to give another tax cut to his buddy Elon to make sure, yeah, even more. At your expense. He's got a plan that no one agrees with. Remember during COVID, he didn't want to listen to medical personnel. He told you to inject bleach. Well, his same acumen around epidemiology applies to business. He thinks if he's going to do his tails tax, which he wants to tell you are tariffs, and China's going to pay for them, China's not paying for them. You're paying for them. $4,000 a year. $4,000 a year out of your pocket. All right. You would think after nearly 80 years, he would have learned what a tariff is, wouldn't you? It's an 80-year-old man. He should have learned this thing. Did I say he was nearly 80? That he was nearly 80? That's all right. So he's nearly 80. He said, I'm not nearly 80. It's like 18 months away. He's nearly 80. Look, some of you in here, and I know there's folks in this room, we know that our system of government was never perfect, but it was better than any other one ever concocted. And it meant working together. And let's just acknowledge the Republican Party over the years contributed much to this country. And the parties that kept their word, when those old Republicans talked about freedom, they meant it. That's not who this guy is. When this guy talks about freedom, freedom to have government in your doctor's office, in your school library, in your bedroom. Golden rule up north, as I'm sure it is down south. Things work better if you just mind your own damn business about my bedroom. Stay out of your bedroom. Kamala knows when she talks about freedom, freedom for you to make the decision, not politicians. Because I will be damned if we need Donald Trump concerned with our bedrooms. I'll be damned if we need that. He needs to worry about his own on this. You know that. Look, other things on freedom. Freedom to make those healthcare choices. Freedom for our seniors to retire with dignity. And I'm going to talk on Social Security, that issue again. Donald Trump called it a Ponzi scheme. It is the single greatest anti-poverty program that we pay into. And his plan is to strip that money out, give it to his private investors on Wall Street, and then we know how that'll be. To the union members in here, union folks in this room know, teachers, the rest of you, a defined benefit pension plan is security, and that's what we're talking about. Social Security helps add to that. And I say this as a dad, actually used to talk about freedom and mean it. Turns out that this group means that the government is free to invade your office, your library, your bedroom. Look, I've talked about, I know you got it in Michigan, it's a Minnesota thing, golden rule, mind your own damn business and we'll get along better. We'll get along fine. When Kamala and I talk about freedom, freedom for the people, not politicians, to make your own decisions about your own life. Freedom for seniors to retire with dignity by strengthening Social Security. And
that means you are actually working a longer day, which means you are more tired,
right?
Which means it requires more exertion. That's why we have overtime pay, so you don't take advantage of workers. In addition to all of that, we're looking at Donald Trump, basically somebody who has never been understanding of the issues that affect the community about disparities. And I'm going to talk, for example, about how when he was a landlord, he denied rent to Black families. Mm-hmm. You look at what he did in terms of taking out a full page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five, which were a bunch of, they're not young adults. They were teenagers, Black and brown teenagers. Took out a full page ad in the New York Times calling for their execution for crimes they did not commit. They were innocent. Donald Trump, who said of the first Black president of the United States, the birtherism, mm-hmm. to have people question whether he was born in the United States, to try and diminish. And then most recently, you look in this very election, legal Black immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, mm-hmm. saying they're eating their pets. So so part of what we have to help people understand is don't think you're in Donald Trump's club. You're not.
Right.
He's not going to be thinking about you. You think he's having you over for dinner? You think that when he's with his buddies, his billionaire buddies, he's thinking about what we need to do to deal with addressing, for example, my work around what I'm doing to address disparities in Black men's health, around colon cancer, around what we need to do around screenings, what we need to do around prostate cancer. Black men are twice as likely to have, and screenings, what we need to do to address.
I'm a survivor of prostate cancer.
Right.
She said, right, like she knew that. I didn't realize that, and shout out to Shannon Sharp. I didn't realize he was a survivor of prostate cancer, honestly, until just now. I didn't want to watch this. It's like watching my mom. They're both annoying to me. Sorry, Mom, love you, but I can't deal with too much. And the reminder just feels like listening to my mom, and I can't. So this was when she's on Club Shay just maybe 2 or 3 days ago, but it aired. Just want to show parts of this, and I'm trying to jump into the live footage that they have going on, but the news and media are all over the place, so we trying to keep up with each other right now. It's weird. I noticed that she's talking more on Black men's health because they're noticing that they're being left out of the conversation, and possibly that's why there's a lack of support from the Black men in the community. That does seem prevalent, and I just don't like the fact that all of a sudden they caring about Black men's health and stuff like that. When it comes to prostate cancer, I don't believe that is race-based at all. All men have the same vulnerabilities to prostate cancer, at least to an extent, based on my findings. If someone knows different, feel free to share in the chat. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know some things are generally an issue with health when it comes to men's health. That's why I ask, y'all got to speak out a little more too sometimes and talk about some things, and then we'll know, not just like the stuff that goes on with women, because I know we tend to have a lot going on.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
Go James and the Lakers are back putting on a show. And I got to get the best.
$50,000 to start a new business, because nobody can start a new business on $5,000. No. And the direct benefit when we're looking at Black entrepreneurs is profound. And all it is about saying this. Americans in general, regardless of their race or gender, we have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams, but not everyone has access to the opportunity to let some actually accomplish that. I want to increase access to opportunity.
Let's go.
Listen, unfortunately, I've gone viral a few times, but I've never gone viral for GLP-1s for weight loss.
He just had his ass hanging out with these ads.
What hardworking people who deserve dignity in their retirement deserve. And as you and I both know, there are a lot of our seniors who their only source of income is that Social Security check. Right? It's the only way they're going to pay the rent or have food on the table. So my plan is about doing what we need to do to put the resources back into Social Security, but also expanding it. Because here's part of the problem with Social Security is that for our aging seniors, if they are a couple, for example, and one of the spouses passes, that cuts their Social Security benefits almost in half. So part of my plan is to reconfigure it so that that surviving spouse does not then have a crisis where they've already lost their loved one. But we also just have to understand on a macro level, we've got to require that billionaires and corporations pay their fair share, right? They can afford to. And that's part of what is the difference between me and Donald Trump. My plan is about tax cuts for small businesses, for working people, for middle-class people. 100 million Americans will benefit around tax cuts.
Well, I hope so. I mean, we got whoever wins, we have to get our businesses together. All right, we're going to go now to Michigan, Ann Arbor with Kamala Harris right now. Hold on a minute.
And lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, intends to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back, which would take us back to a time when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Well, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not going back because we together will move forward to the future, because we believe in who we are and what is possible, and because we know it is time to turn the page. It is time to turn the page. Ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we all remember how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended. And now in America, 1 in 3 women lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. Many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest. I was just in Texas the other day. You know, they provide prison for life for doctors and nurses and healthcare providers for providing care. Prison for life. And no exceptions for a crime that is a violation of someone's body, and then to tell that survivor of that violation, you have no right to make a decision about what happens to your body next. That is immoral. It is immoral. And I know we all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do. Not the government. And listen, you all have heard me say, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man, but the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. Brutally serious. Consider, on the topic we were just discussing, Donald Trump still refuses to acknowledge the pain and suffering he has caused. He insists that, quote, everyone wanted for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Everyone wanted this? Women are being denied care during miscarriages, some only being treated when they've developed sepsis. They didn't want this. Couples trying to grow their family have been cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. They didn't want this. The men of America are seeing their daughters and wives and sisters and mothers put at risk because their rights have been taken from them. The men of America don't want this. And women have died because of these bans. How could anyone say These folks wanted this. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Proudly. Proudly. And I'm traveling our nation, so I have to tell everyone here, across our nation, we are seeing a full-on assault on other and additional hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, like the freedom to vote. I was just in Georgia. You know, they passed a law that makes it illegal to give people food and water for standing in line to vote. The hypocrisy abounds. Whatever happened to love thy neighbor, right? Attacks on the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. So I say to everyone here what you know. Generations of Americans before us fought for freedom. And now the baton is in our hands. The baton is in our hands. And I want to speak specifically to all the young leaders, all the students who are here today. I want to speak to you for a moment. So I love your generation. I really do. And one of the things about it is you are rightly impatient for change. I love that about you. You are impatient for change because look, you have only known the climate crisis and are leading then the charge to protect our planet and our future. You young leaders who grew up with active shooter drills and are fighting then to keep our schools safe. You who now know fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers are standing up for reproductive freedom. And for you then, I know that these issues that are at stake, they are not theoretical. This is not political for you. It is your lived experience. And I see you, and I see your power. And I know many of you are voting for the first time. Can I see a raise of hands? Who's voting for the first time? Can we hear it for our first-time voters? See, that's why I know the future of our country is bright.
Any first-time voters in the chat?
So listen, so much is on the line in this election, and this is not.
Okay, read your comment. I've seen you in here multiple different times. Appreciate you coming through.
That Donald Trump is even more unstable and more unhinged, and now he wants unchecked power. And this time, there will be no one there to stop him. Not even the Supreme Court, which months ago told the former president that he is essentially immune no matter what he would do in the White House.
Okay, see with Obamacare, I thought before it was supposed to be free and very low cost to most. So that's interesting that you said that it started becoming, like, if anything, less affordable. That's interesting. Oh, this has been something, y'all. So this right here, they're saying it's live, but honestly, since they put her quote in there, it probably just wrapped up or wrapped up earlier, but they weren't being specific on what time they were going to do things. I wanted to chime in because Puerto Ricans started to feel targeted since that show that I streamed here, where a lot of us witnessed it live in Manhattan at Madison Square Garden with Donald Trump, a nominee for president, possibly again. Him or Kamala is going to take it home. So there's a patriotic Puerto Rican channel that I just came across right here on YouTube. Want to see a little bit and just share some of the view on it. Check that out.
Disasters, and where do they deploy? the mainland, right? Up the mainland. That's the thing. It's double the citizen, not just serving their own folks, but also. And then we saw what happened in Puerto Rico with the hurricane. I mean, Trump has always had, been dismissive of Puerto Rico as a member of our country, and it's got to be frustrating for those who stepped up and continue to serve. It's tough. So, I mean, what was your reaction when you saw that?
So when Maria happened, it was extremely hard because the whole infrastructure of the island fell apart. So we have no way from here to know of my grandmother, how she was doing. So how we did it was basically by radio. Like from here, we'll make a message. Hey, how about, the people in this town, what happened to them? And that's how we communicated by our communities and the, how we call, in the military, we put a radio station, a relay station, and that's how we relay the information to Puerto Rico and back. So we know how our people are doing on the island. And it was difficult because I come from a town that I grew up on the beach in Puerto Rico. So when the water raised up, my grandmother's house was basically completely covered, that she had to be rescued by boats. So like to know that she went 6 months without lights, it was difficult. And him going to Puerto Rico and just throwing things and then denying much needed help. It's crushing.
Yeah. And you're not forgetting. I mean, that's what I as I talk to a lot of my friends who are Puerto Rican, I had soldiers who were Puerto Rican, obviously, and that, there really is a visceral anger. It does remind me of the Suckers and Losers story 4 years ago when that first came out. That there's been, I've had, I don't know if your phone's blowing up for your buddies or not, but my phone was blowing up. A lot of people like, what the hell is this? I mean, it's just outrageous. And even those of us who hadn't lived in Puerto Rico or of Latino descent felt that pain, because again, so many of my soldiers were from Puerto Rico or of Latin descent, and they are served. I tell the story often of one of my service members who's from Mexico. After Desert Storm, we got him his citizenship. He ended up being a pilot of jets. He flies for Southwest Airlines now, and he earned it. So it hurts all of us. I think it hurts everyone in the veteran community. So Emmanuel, how do you feel? I mean, are you going to kick in harder for this election? I know you said you're in Massachusetts now, right?
I'm from Massachusetts, but now I live in New Hampshire, just across the border, like a mile into it. And it's like every person that I approach, I always tell them, hey, don't forget to vote. This is important. This is a different kind of fight. This is not for blue or red. This is for our democracy, for our nation, So
that's really interesting. I think if anything, maybe more people might even be more prone to vote because of the cattiness that's going on. We are all involved in this no matter what, even other people around the world, because our taxes in America affect other people around the world too. So I hear the other countries laughing at us like, look at y'all crazy, y'all wild and everything. This has an effect on everyone. So we're all in this. But if you're an American, a legal American, you're going to have it affect you the most. Plus the illegal Americans, depending on who gets in office. We know where Trump stands. He's giving them the boot. They're illegal. They really shouldn't be here. Kamala and the Democrats just seem to have a heart, but the heart is so big that it's like living in the house. To me, it feels like living in a house and your parents are giving all the food out. Like, well, I got to help this person too. And it's like, mom, dad, okay, but we need our own resources. How about we make sure we're good? Well, we are good. We're okay, but we could do more, right? But there's other areas that need help and they're not getting it. So we have a lot of that going on. A lot of Puerto Rican, not a lot, but I'm hearing some Puerto Ricans that are offended. Some I don't think are offended by the jokes that were made by the comedian that performed on last Sunday at Madison Square Garden with Trump. So there's just a lot of different views on things. And I want to chime back in a little more with, who was I talking about? Club Shay, where that was Kamala Harris's last sit-down interview, which was the most recent one that I've seen and know about. Just wanted to put some more in there. He don't mind us doing his.
No taxes will be raised for anybody making less than $400,000 a year. My plan is that we give young parents a $6,000 child tax credit. to help them pay for childcare, for a crib or a car seat, because you and I both know the vast majority of our young parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. And back to the way I was raised, I know that the children of the community are the children of the community, that you and I will benefit from that young family having the resources they need. So it's about all of us benefiting, but it's a state of mind and it's a perspective. Mine is about thinking about the challenges people face and getting them help. Donald Trump is full-time focused on himself. You watch his rallies. He will spend full-time talking about, I was going to say Freddy Krueger, Hannibal Lecter. It might as well be Freddy Krueger. Hannibal Lecter. He'll spend full-time talking about his grievances, about what everyone has done to him. He'll talk about himself, but he does not talk about the American people. He does not talk about what he's going to do for middle class. He does not talk about what he's going to do for families, for working people. And we're 12 days out. This is probably one of the most serious elections that we have faced in our lifetime. My perspective, and I will be the kind of president who spends full time focused on the needs of the people. That has been my career. I have spent my whole career as a public servant trying to uplift the condition of other people, knowing what is possible and doing it with a sense of optimism. On January 20th, a new president is going into the White House. Period. A new president is going into the White House. Do you want to look at the Oval Office and see a Donald Trump who's going to be sitting there filling out his enemies list, spending full time figuring out retribution and revenge, or looking at the Oval Office and knowing you have a president in there who's creating a to-do list that's about what to do to help the American people?
So raising minimum age of Social Security, that's not on the table for you.
No. Look, people work hard all their lives and they deserve to be able to retire with dignity. I'll tell you how I come at this. I come at it from a number of perspectives, including thinking about how I was raised in terms of how you take care of the elders, right? I think about it in terms of taking care of my mother when she was sick and dying from cancer. So one of my policies, for example, is to help Medicare pay for home health care for seniors. Why? Because look, I did it, and it means, trying to cook for an elder, to make something they feel like eating, right? To help them put on a sweater. And we have so many people who are in the sandwich generation. They're raising their young kids and taking care of their parents. And either they have to deplete their savings to qualify for Medicaid, right? To be able to help pay for home health care, or they have to quit their job to do the work of taking care of their kids and their parent. And I just believe that's not right, that we should have policies that give people dignity, especially our seniors. So my plan is Medicare.
All right, so Joe Biden currently, is this right now too? Giving remarks on investing in an American agenda. Let's see if I can catch that right now. Should be able to. 1 second. Oh.
1 million new business applications since we took office. Each filing for new business application is an act of hope.
We haven't heard
Put it all together.
Fell down them steps.
In thousands of cities and towns, we're seeing the great American comeback story. Consumer confidence is up this month larger than ever. The economy is growing. Middle class is doing well. We're showing we're the only nation in the world that always emerges stronger from a crisis than we went into the crisis. The only one. We have to keep that progress going and growing. Let me close with this. When I see this port now, cranes in the air, ships and cargo on the move, I hope and feel what I hope you feel. A real sense of pride. I mean it sincerely. Pride. Pride in your community. Pride in our country. Pride in the capacity of our labor unions. That's what Baltimore Strong is all about. It's about pride. I know because generations of Bidens lived here since the 1850s. My dad was born here. He always told me, The true measure of a person is not how often you get knocked down. It's how fast you get back up. That's Baltimore, gets back up fast. That's Maryland, gets back up. And that's why I've never been more optimistic for our future. We just have to remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's keep working together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, man. You know, I'm called the most pro-union president in history. It's nothing hard, man. It's a simple proposition.
Okay.
Middle class built this country, and unions built the middle class. Period. I mean it. You sacrificed so much to keep America's ports open, especially during the pandemic. Deserve a strong contract. Also want to thank Governor Moore. I think he may be the best governor in the country, man. Where are you, Gov? I tell you what, man. I wish I'd played ball with him. You know, and Mayor Scott, there you go. Stand up, man. Let him see you. This guy's got, being a mayor of a major city is one of the hardest jobs in American politics. They think you have all the answers and they know where you live.
Crazy mayor.
And Johnny O, county exec, where are you, Johnny? There you are. I used to be a county councilman.
So Michigan, let's put that in terms you know. We'll tell them this. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Please welcome the next
president. Donald Trump will impose a
All right, so they're just running into each other at this point. I was thinking we was about to get something popping off. So the live was earlier. The one with Vance, I believe that was the one where he was in Michigan. I don't know what's going on, but they were supposed to have one at 4. They were supposed to have one at 3. And then you look on there, they're not there. So I think maybe what it is, you know, the candidates they are doing a lot of running around. So exact times and stuff is just, you know, that's not going to always be there. So, because yeah, they said Harris to speak at Ellipse. Today, yeah, I don't know what's going on. As I didn't get to talk about the Club Shay thing with Kamala Harris. I was just showing clips on that and just doing a little bit of commentary on that, but I could just wrap things up at this point. I'm tired of them saying somebody live. It's like, no, they're not even live, or not right now. Like, what is going on? Four Seasons Hotel. Active shooter at Four Seasons Hotel in Atlanta. So what's up with that? That's Georgia. What is going on? All right, I'm trying to see some. There's a not maybe not exactly where they are. I'm just trying to see what's going on with this active shooter in Georgia. What's going on? There's an active shooter in Georgia. I'm going to look into that more, but in the meantime, I'll look like we got Trump live.
Worked with
us, and they worked brilliantly with us. And she was against the wall. She voted against it. She sued us to try and have it taken down as we were building it. It was very hard to get approval. And what I did is I just said, this is crazy, because I rebuilt the entire military, the entire U.S. military. They shouldn't have given a lot of it to Afghanistan. They gave a big chunk to Afghanistan in the most embarrassing moment. But we rebuilt the entire military. We're going to do it a little bit again because they've given a lot of it away. We defeated ISIS. We did all of these things. We got you the largest tax cut in the history of our country, larger even than Ronald Reagan's tax cut, the largest regulation cuts. We had the best economy in the history of our country. We did so many things. And what we want to do is we want to make it safe for everybody, for seniors. This is a big senior issue, but for seniors and all, these are people these are high-end criminals. They have 629,000, all released by everyone. These numbers were given to us by Border Patrol. They never did it before either. They never talked about specifically. They'd say a lot of people coming in, but they were given to us by Border Patrol. Hundreds of thousands of high-end criminals are released. And she's the border czar. She was put there by Sleepy Joe Biden. And then he went back to sleep. He said, oh, no, it's going on.
Yeah, a lot of them have been holed up and have been, staying in their safe space for several hours now as they await updates. I'm sure a lot of them are watching us here. And as soon as we get new information from Atlanta police, we'll pass that along to you. But
now,
again, the latest that they have given us is that everyone is expected to shelter in place, not just there in the Four Seasons, but again, in some of these nearby buildings, because we have seen and have heard that gunmen fire shots from what appears to be a balcony area high up on that building. So again, we are waiting an update.
Oh, and we do have one update from police right now. As of 4:35 p.m., the shelter in place has been lifted. Okay. Once again, update at 4:35 p.m. The shelter in place has been lifted. We ask that citizens still avoid this area. Streets will continue to be closed in the area for a period of time as the investigation continues. The suspect has been apprehended and is now in custody. That is coming out 4:35 p.m. from Atlanta Police. If we can get that news out to our crews on the ground. Once again, shelter in place lifted. The suspect has been apprehended and is now in custody.
And that is some good news, a great update. We still have a lot of questions, but of course, it's good to know that that person is no longer putting others in danger.
And as we get that new information, Cody, if you can hear us, the suspect has been apprehended and is in custody. What are you hearing on the ground from you?
Yes. So that matches what a witness just told me. It's the same witness who's been sharing pictures of this alleged gunman from the balcony, throwing a chair off the balcony, holding flags, wearing a mask as well. I asked if this witness actually saw the takedown. This person works on the 25th floor of a nearby building and watched all of this unfold as they sheltered in place. But again, that person texted me at 4:29 saying they just took the shooter into custody, which matches. Now APD confirming. And what we are working on now is if there are anybody else involved in this. Of course, initially we heard this was a barricaded situation. We heard that this was a mental health crisis. We did not hear anything about a hostage situation or civilians being injured. But again, those details could come out at this news conference as we are working to confirm some very early on information regarding this situation. So, what we can tell you right now is you just confirmed the suspect is in custody, but this is a very large crime scene because there were tons of shots fired. They're going to have to find these shell casings. They're going to have to figure out where any other buildings hit. They're going to have to start working backwards on what led this man to the Four Seasons inside this unit to carry out what has happened here. And of course, if there were any other crimes committed today involving this suspect, that will also be part of this investigation. So while the immediate threat is over and that things might be getting back to a little bit of normalcy around here as traffic, there is a lot of investigating to do. And what I can tell you right now is the public information officer is walking up. We are going to move our camera. So we're going to toss it back to you guys, let you take over for just a couple of minutes. Let us get in place for this news conference. And this will be the first time we hear from APD since this started unfolding earlier today, maybe around noon. But again, we're going to jump off here, Faith. We're going to let you guys reset everything. We're going to get set up for this news conference. And of course, as soon as they start talking, we'll bring it to you live as we work to figure out what unfolded this afternoon inside this Four Seasons building.
All right, Cody, we will see you momentarily. And also, as you see the shot here, as they get ready to move, you can see more people out and about now as that shelter in place has been lifted. A lot of people been holed up for the last couple hours waiting for that all clear. And now we have that.
And we've had multiple people texting us. I have a woman who works at a nearby, not residential area, but next to the same place where the Israeli consulate is housed. She's in that building not far away, saying that there's no threat. They've been told their whole floor that there is no threat.
Fire.
Did you know about this? A lot of shots were
in that
let
area
out.
should shelter in place
Midtown
and stay far away
Atlanta,
from any
Georgia.
windows.
An Atlanta Police Department
And the
specifically
Dems are
saying
there.
to please
Democrats from
avoid
Georgia, so that's
12th
why I was
Street,
looking
13th Street, West Peachtree Street, Crescent Street, Peachtree Street, and Peachtree Walk. The Four Seasons, not just a hotel, there's also residences above that. There are multiple hotels, multiple businesses in this area, as well as residences. And where you're looking at right now, this intersection, a very, very busy one at 5 o'clock as people get off of work, get off and try to head home. But once again, right now, that is shut down. For the last hour, we have heard on and off gunfire. Police asking if you are in this area right now, if you have friends or family in this area right now, if they are in one of those office buildings or if they are in one of those residences, please stay away from windows. This is still an active shooter situation.
Sirens and lights on, so we're trying to make sure that we're not in their way. In the meantime, I was able to speak to someone coming out of one of the nearby hotels who said she heard dozens of shots. She wasn't sure if they were gunshots that she was hearing, so she jumped out of bed. She didn't hear any reactions, but then she looked out of her windows and saw this scene with tons of police cars out here, and she was worried. She said that there were different animals and pets and people standing around in the lobby because they couldn't leave. She said this is her first time in Atlanta, and she hates that this was her experience. She still says the city is beautiful, but she was obviously scared when all of this is going on. But now that she's walking out, she says she feels safe. She says that the officers have been doing a good job making her feel safe, securing the building, as well as the staff who's been communicating and checking in with them. But she could basically hear it and see what was going down from her hotel window. So we'll try to get some of that together so you can hear exactly what her words were. But for right now, we're going to try to get out of the way as these police units seem to be picking up. There are more arriving to the scene now. Live in Atlanta, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
Teresa Bowles, live for us. Thank you so much for giving us that report. And Jonathan, you heard from Teresa. We heard from Caitlin, Cody. You're going to start hearing a lot more counts because that area, we both know the area well, very, very populated, lots of residences as well as office buildings.
And a lot of people could hear, they could hear the gunfire, but couldn't necessarily see what was going on. So there's a, just imagine how frightening that is to not know where the gunfire is coming from, if it perhaps is coming in your direction. But the good news that we can report, in case you are just joining us, is that the shelter in place has been lifted. The suspected gunman is now in custody, and police are now keeping that area still locked down as they investigate, but are allowing at least some foot traffic to go through.
And last time we checked in with Cody, he was getting set up for a press conference from what we call the public information officer with the Atlanta Police Department, kind of the liaison between the police department and the media, so that we can get that information out to you. We are expecting for that to come down hopefully within the next 10 minutes so we can get a lot of unanswered questions that we are getting emails and text about.
All right, someone was asking, what is this? There's an active shooter that was in Midtown Atlanta in Georgia, and the Dems are there, Harris and Walz. Now, they may be in a different area because I know they were going to Savannah, a few different places in Georgia. But there's an active shooter at the Four Seasons where people live. It's not just a hotel or something like, whatever. But they have it contained right now. But they like literally just got information in that it's okay now because they have sheltered in place. So at first I was trying to see if it might have been a terrorist act against, because of presidential things going on and, attempted assassinations and all this craziness. So it got crazy over there. So they said pets and animals is all, and people. But I was going to go back to Trump, and then I'll probably just wrap this up because it looks like he's live, and I'm finally got one where there isn't a whole bunch of advertisement all over the place. Because I don't do ads for people, and especially I ain't getting paid. That don't make sense, 1029 Roundtable in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. So we're on the East Coast still. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let's check the audio.
Guys that were really not on our side very much. And I will tell you, I said, this is an invasion of our country. I'm going to take it out of the military, because the military had a tremendous, I was able to get tremendous amounts of money to rebuild our military. We have jets that were 50 years old. Mike would often hear stories where you had the bombers where the grandfather flew the plane, the son flew the plane, and then the grandchild was flying the plane. It was the same plane. It was like so old. And we rebuilt almost our entire military. We're going to be upgrading that. So we did a lot of things, and we did a lot of things medically. One thing I'd like to talk about is right to try. So do you know what that is? I hope nobody in the room needs it. But we have the best labs, doctors, technicians, but our laboratories are the best for new medicines and everything. They're really amazing. And but you can't get it approved. I mean, and rightfully, you can't get it by the FDA. They can't stand me, by the way. I used to push them. I got it down from 12 years to 5 years, but they need certain times. I mean, they do need. I want everything to be rushed, but you can't necessarily do that. But we have a situation where we have things that are really good. We're pretty sure they work. They may not, but we're pretty sure they work. And I said, why isn't it, if a person's terminally ill, why can't they use this stuff that may or may not work? Sir, it's been going on 48 years. They couldn't get it worked out. The country didn't want it because our country would be sued. The insurance companies definitely didn't want it. The labs didn't want it because they didn't want a terminally ill person to be using, something that's going to be like show badly, where they have to put it down. They have to do their lists, and they don't want to be, they call it a list. They didn't want to be on the list. Somebody's terminally ill and dies and using the medicine. And I understand that. So I got everybody in a room, every one of the doctors, the labs, the insurance companies, and even the country representatives, the Justice Department. They all came in because they couldn't get it done. I said, here's what we do. Somebody can use it. And these people were going all over the world. They were going to Asia. They were going to Europe. If they had money, and they would get scammed many times, but they go all over the world. We couldn't do it here. And most of them, though, had no money, and they'd go home and they'd die. I'd say, look, if somebody's terminally ill, I want to give them a shot at life. It's a great feeling, at least. At least they can say, well, I've got something, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. But what, the expression, what the hell do we have to lose? Somebody's terminally ill. Why? They were saying, we'll be sued. I said, you're not going to be sued. So we worked out, and it didn't take that long. After 48 years, within a period of about a month, and then I got it approved by Congress, believe it or not, we could get things done. But
people crack me up. When you do your thing on here, somebody always got something to say, but they won't even do a fraction of what you do. Go bite yourself. So anyway, there was an active shooter, so I was showing that because the Dems are in Georgia, but it looks like it's not where they are. So that's here. What's going on right now is you have media pretending stuff is live and like in real time, and depending on that information and whatnot. So they're getting hip to this whole algorithm thing, and it's not live, but they're pretending it is. So it's throwing a lot of us off too, because we depend on some of these outlets. So pardon me for some of the like delay, and they're saying it's this way and it's not. That's them being goofy, so it is what it is. I don't have no control over that stuff. So but I did show Club Shay. He's on the thumbnail. I wanted to just show parts of the interview with him and Harris. I showed some of that. I didn't watch it. Let me show a little bit more of that, and I'm just seeing if they're still going to do this live, and if not, I'm gonna I will most likely call it a day. I think I put in enough time and running around and trying for y'all folks to really hit the like button. But shout out to y'all that do and that have participated. So that's always good. You're going to get something out of it too. People that don't always talk ish, you're going to get what you get too. So be ready for that. said no. Now he's going to get into blacks for Trump. I do want to see what they had to say about that, and enact that. That'll probably be about it. As you see on the thumbnail, I did America's Amazing Circus. Tim Walz is such a bubbly person. He seems so happy, but he's been cussing lately too. Then we have Shannon Sharp, who I'm just showing some of the bits, just little bits of Kamala Harris's most recent sit down with anyone was with Shannon Sharp. So she had a conversation with him. And of course, we feel it's in efforts to push ahead this vote, at least for men to come out. And they've been specifically calling out black men. I know Obama. Let me remove this and I'll go right back. I do, hold on, because I didn't see this. Mm. Hmm. All right, let's share this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They feel that Trump is better for the black community. Can you explain Donald Trump's history with blacks? Where did this come that all of a sudden, I mean, it's been like this because a lot of people used to say, I'm Donald Trump of the ghetto because he was, I mean, for a lot of blacks, not all, but for some blacks, he was, Madam VP, whether we want to admit it or not, he's revered by some blacks.
But here's the thing. The question for everybody, should he be president of the United States?
Okay.
Right? That's the question. Should he have the ability to sit behind the seal of the president of the United States when he says he wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States? You know what that would mean? in the Constitution of the United States is your Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable search and seizure, your Fifth Amendment right, your Sixth Amendment right to an attorney.
Well, a lot of rights gonna be gone. The First Amendment.
But the First Amendment, the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Look, I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I don't believe we should be taking anybody's guns away. He wants to terminate the Constitution of the United States. He is the same one, like I said earlier, who denied rent to Black families, who took out that full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of those children.
Yeah, that was a lot that went on too. Before I go, I'm gonna go ahead and get back through Tim Walz's actual speech.
It is good to be back, Georgia. It is good to be back. Wow. All I've got to say is a huge thank you to Ann for the introduction, but I'd just be clear with you, I would play on her team. I will tell you that. So that's what leadership looks like. And to this incredible community and to your mayor, Mayor Van Johnson, thank you for that. So all of you, thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you for the sign on Gus. I'm grateful for that. I am grateful. Look, you can. Gus turned 18 2 weeks ago. He voted last Wednesday. He voted. So. Look, we got a Tuesday afternoon, and all of you are here, and I continue to say it. This is why I remain so optimistic. You could be anywhere doing anything else. You're here because you love this country deeply. So thank you. All right, here we go. Final week of the race, folks. 7 days. Folks are still making up their mind. You know that. It's hard to believe, but they're still doing it. And I know you've heard from people in your life this version of what's going on with them right now. Well, I can't really stand Donald Trump personally, but I think the economy good, when he was in. I think the economy was good. Look, people are trying to rationalize voting for this guy. I will say this. I think some people's memories are a little fuzzy about what 4 years ago was. Keep in mind, 4 years ago, we had lost 2.7 million jobs. Unemployment had shot way up. Supply chains were devastated because Donald Trump botched the pandemic response. You remember the days when you were trying to find hand sanitizer and toilet paper? That was because of Donald Trump, just to be very clear about that. Not to mention the tens of thousands of Americans that died because he did not take COVID seriously. That's what happened. So look, 4 years ago, when he tells you, were things better 4 years ago? Yeah, if you were a billionaire because you got a tax cut. The rest of us got screwed during the deal. That's what happened. Look, what do you expect from a guy? And I keep saying this. Let's just dispel the myth of this, that Donald Trump is some type of businessman or whatever. This guy went bankrupt 6 times. Everything he touched went bankrupt. So I'm going to say it, and I think now in the last 7 days, let's just talk turkey about things. Donald Trump's a loser in everything that he's done. What he's done. That's not a pejorative. That's an observation based on facts. He loses jobs. He loses businesses. He loses in court. And no matter what J.D. Vance says, he lost the 2020 election. Now, I know some of you feel a little bit of anxiety these last 7 days. The news media, they want you to click on things because all of a sudden, exciting news about the election. So you click on it, so they can make money or whatever. Look, don't take any of that. Don't take any of that. You know what the antidote is to the anxiety you're feeling? Go out and vote for Kamala Harris. That's right. Vote. We got it. We don't. You got it. That's our power. That's our power. Trump wants to talk about the past. Kamala's got a new way forward. She knows this economy works best when it works for all of us. That's the way it needs to be. I am incredibly proud to be on this ticket with her, especially for this, because you heard about the coaching and stuff. We've got real plans for America. Not concepts of plans, real plans. Lower costs, put more money back in your pocket, and make sure that everybody in this country gets an opportunity to get ahead, not just get by. And I want to talk about this. Taking on the price gougers that we talk about, why are grocery prices so high? That's what farmers are asking. Why in the hell are farmers still making $4 a bushel for corn when fruit prices were 30% cheaper when they were making $4 for corn? Somebody's taking money in the middle. We'll attack that, making sure on the national level, take on price gougers. This issue about giving tax cuts, Donald Trump will do it. He will give tax cuts, but it will be for the richest amongst us. We want to give tax cuts to 100 million middle-class Americans, the folks who are working. This one is transformational. We did it in Minnesota. We did it during the pandemic. $6,000 child tax credit in the first year of that child's life. Matters. And this issue, you know this, they want to talk about things that don't impact you. The things that impact you, the young folks in here too. Where are you going to find childcare? Where are you going to find childcare? How are you going to afford it? We're talking about making sure we're hiring more people to work in childcare, and we're incentivizing and being able to subsidize some of the costs so that folks can get out and work. That makes a difference. Now, they asked J.D. Vance where we should get childcare, and he said, ask Grandma to do it. Because God knows Grandma's not doing anything else, like having a career and living her life and doing things like that. We should offer classes to these guys to learn how to talk to women so they can get this right, because they don't know how to do it. Kamala wants to extend, and this is another one of those big issues, access to affordable pharmaceuticals. These aren't nice to have things. This is not a new pair of tennis shoes. This is insulin that you need to save your life. And so when we capped it at $35 for seniors, she wants to take it for everyone. We did it in Minnesota. The reason we did it for everyone in Minnesota was there was a young man named Alex Smith. He turned 26 and got off his parents' insurance. He started rationing his insulin. He died. His mom, Nicole, came to the state capitol and said, never again will I have a mother lose her child. So we have $35 insulin for everybody. Not only is that the right thing to do, but this is the price gouging issue. They were charging for that little vial of insulin that we now cap at $35. They were charging $800 for it. It cost $5 to make it. They're still making $30 for each one. They will do just fine. So look, for all of us in here too, and the young folks in here, I know this one's not going to register much with you, but trust me, when you turn 60 and get in there, there's a couple things you really start paying attention to, Medicare being one of them. That's how we live with dignity when we get older. Kamala proposed having Medicare pay for in-home care so our seniors and our parents can live in their homes longer. Smart. Now, listen, everybody, and they say, well, what are their concrete plans? You're not going to hear Donald Trump talking about this stuff because he doesn't believe in Medicare, doesn't believe in Social Security, doesn't care. But when she said, let's expand Medicare to pay for glasses and hearing aids, what a novel idea. What a novel idea. Now, Trump's plan, they had a bunch of experts look at it. Trump's plan will bankrupt Social Security in 6 years. 6 years. Now, I want to just talk about this on Social Security. When you're a billionaire and you're sitting down at Mar-a-Lago, and remember the reason he's a billionaire because his dad gave him $400 million. Any one of you would be multiple billionaires richer than him if you had it started out. But look, he doesn't give a damn if the Social Security check gets deposited or not. You know who does care? My nearly 90-year-old mom, because she pays for food and heat with that money. And you know what? She paid into it. She paid into it. Now, Donald Trump wanted to tell us, and J.D. Vance tried to explain to me after Trump's concept of a plan. He tried to explain the plan, and I said, you should go back to the concept, because when you explain it, it's even worse. Because what he explained is getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And for all of you who've forgotten, and for folks in here, what Obamacare did was make sure insurance companies could not determine whether they covered you or not because you had a pre-existing condition. Yeah, we're not going back to that. These folks get it. Even Donald Trump could figure out this business model. Insurance companies want to only insure healthy people, and they want to make it difficult for you to make a claim and collect the money, because that way they get to keep the money. What ACA said is because you've had asthma when you were younger, or because you're a woman, or because you hurt your knee, you're not going to be excluded from this, and you're going to get health care, because guess what? Health care should be a basic human right to be able to take care of people. And the system works. And this idea of home ownership, all of us in here who've had the privilege and the ability to be able to own a home know that one of the biggest obstacles to getting in that home is the down payment that you need to get in. If you're like me, I used a VA loan where you don't have to have a down payment. What Kamala's proposing is making sure everybody gets a $25,000 credit to be able to get your down payment into your home. And the folks in here who have an American dream to start your own business, we know that the richest and the biggest companies in this country don't pay any tax right now. They get a lot of tax credits and a lot of breaks. And speaking of not paying taxes, Donald hasn't paid 10 of the last 15 years in federal tax. So what we think is we have those folks pay their fair share, and then we start focusing a $50,000 tax credit on small business owners for they're able to get off the ground. Makes more sense. But not Donald. He wants to give another tax cut to his buddy Elon to make sure, even more. At your expense. He's got a plan that no one agrees with. Remember during COVID, he didn't want to listen to medical personnel. He told you to inject bleach. Well, his same acumen around epidemiology applies to business. He thinks if he's going to do his tails tax, which he wants to tell you are tariffs, and China's going to pay for them, China's not paying for them. You're paying for them. $4,000 a year. $4,000 a year out of your pocket. All right. You would think after nearly 80 years, he would have learned what a tariff is, wouldn't you? It's an 80-year-old man. He should have learned this thing. Did I say he was nearly 80? That he was nearly 80? That's all right. So he's nearly 80. He said, I'm not nearly 80. It's like 18 months away. He's nearly 80. Look, some of you in here, and I know there's folks in this room, we know that our system of government was never perfect, but it was better than any other one ever concocted. And it meant working together. And let's just acknowledge the Republican Party over the years contributed much to this country. And the parties that kept their word, when those old Republicans talked about freedom, they meant it. That's not who this guy is. When this guy talks about freedom, freedom to have government in your doctor's office, in your school library, in your bedroom. Golden rule up north, as I'm sure it is down south. Things work better if you just mind your own damn business about my bedroom. A lot of your bedroom. Kamala knows when she talks about freedom for you to make the decision, not politicians. Because I will be damned if we need Donald Trump concerned with our bedrooms. I'll be damned if we need that. He needs to worry about his own on this. You know that. Look, other things on freedom to make those healthcare choices, freedom for our seniors to retire with dignity. And I'm going to talk on Social Security, that issue again. Donald Trump called it a Ponzi scheme. It is the single greatest anti-poverty program that we pay into. And his plan is to strip that money out, give it to his private investors on Wall Street, and then we know how that'll be. To the union members in here, union folks in this room know, teachers, the rest of you, a defined benefit pension plan is security, and that's what we're talking about. Social Security helps add to that. And I say this as a dad, as a teacher, as a governor. Our children should be free as little ones to get dressed up, head to school to learn and be kids, and not be shot dead in that classroom. Ridiculous. You know it. You know it. And don't take a back seat on this. I know guns. I am a veteran. I'm a hunter. I'm a gun owner. Kamala's a gun owner. What we know is we can clearly uphold the Second Amendment while also upholding our first responsibility, protecting our children. Now, lots of stuff going on. 7 days, lots of anxiety, all these things going on. I'm going to take just 1 second here before we wrap up to talk to the guys in this room, and thank you for coming. Think about this. Think for a moment about the women you love in your life, your partners, your wives, just all the rest of them. Their lives are at stake in this election. That's what's here. Donald Trump's the one who appointed those Supreme Court justices, those three, who overturned Roe versus Wade. Now, young women in this room, you've got less rights than your moms had. 20 states, including this state, have a Trump abortion ban. He calls them a beautiful thing. Georgia, you're seeing it here. You know what a beautiful thing looks like. Amber Thurman, mom of 6-year-old boy, medical assistant, dream of being a nurse. Trump took down Roe. She was forced to wait 20 hours to get urgent medical care she desperately needed. Her death was found to be preventable when she couldn't get the care she needed here. As a parent, as an American, as a human being, that makes me sick as hell that would happen. We're hearing these stories all across the country. Women are turned away from emergency rooms, having miscarriages in parking lots, survivors of rape and incest being forced to carry those pregnancies to term, and fertility clinics turning people away at the door. And I said, none of these women, Amber wouldn't want to have her name out there. Her family's grieving over her death, but we're out here because we know what they've done could be worse. For Gwen and I, we struggled for years to have kids. We used fertility treatments. We finally had that beautiful daughter. And I have to tell you, I will be damned if I'll allow any politician, let alone Donald Trump, make that decision for your family. Keep in mind, this is the power. We are not going back, and we've got the power to do this. We're not going to just elect Kamala Harris president. We're going to take back the House and hold that Senate. And you know why we're going to do it? Because America's counting on us, and she'll make sure that when we do that and a reproductive freedom bill comes to her desk, she will sign it. I said it earlier. You're here because you love this country. But I'm just going to say it. That can't be said about all candidates in this race. Trump last week called this country the garbage can for the world. Literally trash talking this country. Look, folks, it doesn't get much simpler than this. Donald Trump does not love this country because he is incapable of loving anything other than himself. That's what it is. Kamala, I, and all of you, we believe this is the greatest nation on earth. She believes in the founding promise just like you, and she's ready to fight for it. So here's the deal, folks. 1 week from today, we're going to win this thing. We are going to win this thing. I can feel it. We are joyful, optimistic, and momentum's on our side. But I've been through enough of these, and I've been through enough of them in life. We're not taking anything for granted. So now it's time for a little bit of a pep talk, Fecal. This thing is tied, and you know it. It's tie game. 2 minutes left on the clock. The good news is we've got the damn ball. We're driving that thing down the field. We got the best quarterback in Kamala Harris leading the way. And the team in this room is the right team to win it. All right, those of you who've played these things and know, and to the football guys in here know, end of the fourth quarter, easy to get tired, easy to start doubting, easy to maybe say it's not worth it. But I'll tell you what, this is where champions dig deep. This is when you say there's too much on the line and too many people are counting on me. We're going to push through this thing. So we're going to keep pushing this down the field, 1 inch at a time, 1 yard at a time, 1 phone call at a time, 1 door knock at a time, 1 vote at a time.
All right, well, there they go with that. Yeah, there was an active shooter. Looks like they got things under control now. So that was in Georgia too. So it looked like more stuff was going on. So I just want to take a look and share it during the live stream. I showed some of Club Shay where Harris was last seen at doing a sit-down interview. The Shay girl. And that's about it. So show some of Walz, and then we'll see what happens. It's a countdown. Everyone's really busy. A lot of tempers are flaring and everything else. So I appreciate those that did come through. Those that do take a second to just hit the like button or subscribe. But participation is highly welcome here too. All right, respectfully. So again, this is Kiy NY007. Thanks. If you have any questions, anything going on in the chat? No? Somebody said if you... All right. So yes, I hope you have a good day. Be safe and try not to stress out. Try to laugh about things too, because there's a lot going on and there's more to come, weather related too, not just the politics. Those around you, be careful. All right, stay positive, and that's what helps manifest. All right, y'all. Thanks. Peace. Until next time, possibly tomorrow. Wednesday? Wednesday maybe? All right. Bye. Peace.